muscle, it just it really
I
does.
almost believe he was natural, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it shows you when they talk about the genetics, the genetics, it really shows up when a guy gets older, and I always think of Steve Reeves, the statement that he said that always boggled my mind. We won't, you remember how he looked in the Hercules movies? I
Yeah.
mean, he looked fantastic. I mean, he inspired millions, God knows how many people.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy looks like he really trained for it. And then he says, I only trained 1 month out of the year for that movie. One,
Wow. Yeah. I remember you told me that. Yeah.
I mean that how do you beat genetics like that?
I know.
I mean, and you look at some of these guys, these newer guys coming up now, and they haven't even competed in the Olympia. I'm sure you've seen these guys. I mean, some of the I don't know whether it's Photoshop, I don't know what's going on, but these guys are absolutely monstrous.
Yeah.
I mean, they just ridiculous. I mean, they're just gigantic. Some of these guys, and they haven't even. I don't know whether they're pros yet or not, but I mean, they look like they're walking around weighing like 280 pounds of pure muscle. It's insane.
It's unbelievable how big they are.
You see, but when I look at those guys, I got to tell you, the first thing that comes to my mind is how long are these guys going to live? You know what I mean? I mean, you got to be doing something to get that kind of extent of muscle mass, you know?
Right. Right.
How long are these? I mean, most of these guys are in their early to mid 20s. You
Yeah.
know, what's going to happen to them? I mean, we saw guys in the past that got pretty big. They were big bodybuilders over the years, but not like these guys.
Yeah.
These guys have a kind of unnatural look that just defy genetics,
Yeah.
and they have to be taking a lot of stuff. And I think we've talked about, I think I mentioned you about one particular steroid, trenbolone,
Yeah.
apparently universally popular among competing bodybuilders. I think just about every pro uses it. I
Yeah.
mean, Dorian Yates admitted using it and all that. But
Oh, Dorian was using it back then? It was around
yeah,
back then.
yeah, he
Okay.
made he made a video where he commented, because he said something about how he couldn't believe the dosages that he's
Mm.
hearing that guys are taking today. He used something like 76 milligrams 2 or 3 times a
Oh
week.
yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
and
it
then
comes in a vial or something, right?
exactly right,
Yeah.
right. And and these guys are using what thousands, who knows what they're using, a lot more than Dorian used.
Yeah, like 5 times the amount.
Yeah, and see, I recently wrote an article about trenbolone, for my applied metabolics. I called it the most dangerous steroid, and it is because there's been quite a few animal experiments that show it's not just the. I mentioned in the past, trenbolone increases the abnormal proteins in the brain that cause brain degeneration, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Trenbolone definitely increases that, right?
Yeah.
Now, it might take a while, but these guys are destroying their brain if they use trenbolone year after year. Now, I did some further research for the article. I found that trenbolone affects just about a dozen other organs in the body. It just completely destroys them with continued use.
Wow, really?
So, what I'm saying is, with this massive doses of trenbolone being used by these guys, I'd be surprised if they make it to 50 years old. Really, I don't want that to happen. But
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't care. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, when I've said this in some of my videos and or talked about it, people say, "Oh, it hasn't hurt me yet." Yeah, all right. I didn't say it's gonna. I didn't say it's like arsenic or cyanide. It's
Yeah,
gonna.
right.
It's a slow death, but
Yeah.
it's a certain death. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's you're young guys, as we both know. When you're young, you can get away with a lot of stuff. You won't feel it till later.
And you have that attitude that you're going to live forever.
Yeah, like I compare it to, for example, I mean, I don't know if you ever were laid in the sun to get a tan for
Oh
contest.
yeah. Oh yeah, a lot when I was young.
Yeah, we all did that. I mean, I
Yeah.
did that myself. I even used. I have trouble tanning for some reason. I tan like a blonde person. I just burn. So I actually used the drug. I admit it. I used the drug.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I used a drug called trisorolin. I found it. It's used in the treatment of vitiligo, which is like white spots on people with dark color, like Michael Jackson had. In fact, he used it himself, the same drug. Now, what it does, it amplifies the UV rays on your skin. You still need exposure, but what it does is it kicks out like 4 times more melanin. That's the pigment that causes a tan. So the bottom line is you use that for about 2 weeks lying in the sun, you get the tan you'd get in about 4 or 5 months. I I
Wow.
I got so dark, my skin using that when I went to New York right after a contest, my mother picked me up at the airport and she walked right by me. She thought I was a black guy.
Yeah.
That's how, and you can see I'm not really that dark. That's how dark that stuff made me.
You know who was
But
using that, Jerry? Was John Natashak.
or was he using? Yeah, yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
guys used it. Uh,
Because he had
uh,
that super dark look. I saw
right,
him.
right.
I don't think he's using it now, but he had it for a while.
Yeah, yeah. But see, the deal with it was you can't use it more than 2 weeks because
Mm.
it kicked the crap out of your liver. I mean,
Oh, no shit.
it made oral steroids, which are known to be harmful to the liver. It made them like look like candy. It was
Yeah.
really hard on the liver. Luckily, I used it when I was like 22, 23 years old. I only used it for 2 weeks. I followed the directions, never had any problems. But Jesus, that stuff that made me it got very dark on that stuff. You know,
Wow.
I mean, I back then, we didn't have the good tanning makeup the guys have today.
Yeah,
As
no, it wasn't nearly as good as it is today.
as far as I know, I mean, the guys today, they're probably not using trisul, and they don't need to use it. Maybe occasional guy will
Yeah,
use
most
it.
of them are like super white. Super,
Super
like,
white.
remember how bodybuilders used to always lay
Yeah,
out in the sun?
yeah,
Now
right.
they're the opposite. They're super white now.
But a good tip off about the makeup, this always cracks me up, is when you see a guy, we use the makeup, his body is really dark, like I got on the trice, very, deep, deep tan, but they forget to put it on their face.
Yeah. Oh, I see that all the time now.
So they got this pasty white face,
Yeah, I don't
which,
know why they do that.
I mean, come on, man. You know, the makeup they had when I competed in the '60s, I used this stuff that was a tanning makeup, and it was very watery. It was, I remember Leon Brown. Remember the famous Leon?
Yeah,
He
sure.
once applied it for me on my back before a contest, and I competed. In fact, that was the one where I met Frank Zane from Mr. Eastern America.
Oh,
I,
okay.
it was called Tan in a Minute. I remember now. It's called
Yeah,
Tan.
yeah, yeah.
I put it on. It was very watery, brown liquid. I put it on, and it looked pretty good when I put it on. Because like I say, I had no tan at all, and but it was hot lights, and as I was
Running.
standing on stage, my tan started running down my arms and legs, and the other guys are like looking at me, what's wrong with this guy,
Right, right.
But luckily I retained enough of it to pass. But I'll never forget that, the tan running down my leg, and but I did put it on my face.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not put, to me, putting tanning stuff on your body and forgetting it makes you
Right.
look like some sort of weird clown or something,
Oh, I know. They look terrible. They look
Right?
ridiculous.
I mean,
We
come
used
on.
to use what's it called? Well, Dioderm. I remember Dioderm was around first,
I remember I heard of
and
that.
then I
Yeah.
think it was Protan, but it was in a
Okay.
bottle,
Yeah.
and what you had to do was you had to use a sponge.
Yeah.
My brother, my younger brother, would help me tan, so he would get like this big sponge,
Yeah.
and he would just dump it into the sponge, and it would just soak into the sponge, and he would paint me.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
would have to start Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday night, and Saturday morning before the contest. It would take like 4 times. And every
Right.
time we did it, I got darker and darker. But I
Right. That's
remember going to shows back then, and you'd see some guys would be green, some
yeah.
guys would be red, some guys would be dark enough. And then every
Right.
once in a while, some guy would get it perfect. And that
Yeah.
guy would have a big advantage because he'd be like so dark. He'd
Yeah.
like perfect tan. Like Frank Zane used to have that perfect tan.
Yeah. I think Jay Cutler, I'm not sure what stuff he used, but he would do the same thing you were just talking about. He'd start it like he'd use like multiple coats.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you look at him, like if you check the photos of him, he looked like he had a really, and he's a kind of a
He was
blonde guy.
he
He's
was
not
dark, man.
naturally dark either, but the
Right.
tan he put it on perfectly. He was even. He looked like he had a really deep natural tan, and Jay was smart enough to put a light stuff on his face.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, come on, you got to do it right.
Well, what I would do is after it was all done, like on Saturday, I would just take the sponge and I just go like this real fast on my face. You didn't need a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
just so
No,
your face was dark.
you didn't have to make your face as dark as your body,
No, yeah, it's
but you
just
have to
like,
put some color in the face so
yeah,
your face doesn't stand out.
yeah, yeah. I heard today that they're starting it. Remember we had that discussion a while back about how the bikini girls were getting more muscular?
Yes.
They have a new division now. They're
Oh
starting a
no,
new
not another
division.
one. Oh, you
Yeah,
got to be
another
kidding.
one.
Another one.
It's called Fit Model, and
Oh,
it's basically they wanted the bikini girls to look like they did in the beginning. So
oh,
basically, what they're saying is the bikini girls are getting more muscular. We're going to let them get more muscular. Now we're going to create another division for the girls that look like bikini girls are supposed to look
it's like the same thing that happened. That's why they
with
started
classic physique. Yeah,
the classic and men's. Well, not so much men's physique, but classic physique.
yeah.
As you know,
So they could say to the bodybuilders, "Go ahead and get as big as you want. Now we got this
yeah,
other division." And they're going to do the
right.
same thing with the bikini,
Oh, that's insane.
isn't
That's
it?
it. I mean, I kind of predicted that. I think we talked about this, how the bikini, how it evolved, because the first year, if you remember, the bikini women, the competitors, they look like girls off the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Well,
were
I think
just,
I told you. I mean, you could go on YouTube and watch a Mr. Olympia contest from just 5, 6 years ago. And
yeah,
I was doing this like I think it was like 5, 6 years ago. It wasn't even 10 years ago. And the girls looked so much smaller. It was
right.
unbelievable. I was shocked.
Yeah. You talking about the bikini girls?
Yeah, the bikini girls. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's inevitable. In fact, I've written this again in Applied to Metabolics. I was talking about the various divisions, and I was talking about how they've evolved, how, and I did mention the bikini. I wasn't aware of what you just told me that there's a new division.
Just came
I
out today. Yeah.
was saying that, in the quest to win, they get these coaches,
Yep.
and the coaches will put them on various drugs with the idea that they can, have a more harder looking or whatever it is, the type of appearance that would win. So
Yep.
it was inevitable that the appearance would gradually change. See, but the thing that annoys me, I don't know if annoy is the right word, but you talk about like one of the newer divisions, that wellness division, female
Hmm.
wellness.
Hmm.
99% of those girls have these gigantic glute implants
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
look to me are bordering on ridiculous.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm not sexist. I mean, personally, I don't understand. I mean, I understand breast implants. I understand why women would get breast implants because there's so much emphasis on breasts as a symbol of femininity. Women who are naturally flat chested, they probably affects their self-esteem, so they have the breast implants. In other cases, women have fairly normal sized breasts, but they want to get humongous breasts because they think it puts them higher in the market value to get a type of guy or whatever they're looking for. Those
Hmm.
are the two categories. But I still don't understand butt implants. I mean,
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense to me. I know somebody might say, well, some women, they just don't have any butt. They have like flat gluteus, but it seems like the butt implants, blood imp,
But
butt implant, they're a little bit too exaggerated.
oh wait, yeah, way too much.
Maybe they look like giant tumors on the hips,
Yeah.
and I
And I
just,
heard that's a very dangerous surgery because I heard they have to go under the muscle.
yeah,
A lot of
it,
complications with that.
it's a lot of danger, and I don't, I wonder how that must feel.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
how does that feel does it feel like you're sitting on a pillow all the time? I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I see a couple girls at my gym that have them. Obviously, have them.
yeah,
They're Spanish, and
yeah.
they work glutes all the time. And I'm like, why? You don't need to work glutes. You already
No,
got butt implants. You know?
I see the same thing. Women at this Gold's Gym, even though I train at night with as fewer people, seems like almost all the women, like half their workout is glute exercises.
Oh yeah. They'll train glutes like 4 days a week.
Yeah, they use that hip thrust. They have like free
Yeah.
hip machines, and they use the glute blaster, and they do lunges and all this stuff.
And some
You
of
know,
them, with that when they do the hip thrust with the barbell, I've seen women using 400 or 500 pounds on that.
oh my God,
Yeah,
wow,
it's crazy. Like they are
yeah,
so strong on that. I couldn't do half that weight.
yeah. Well, I think I mentioned the surprising thing is women's legs. If you compare the average man, the average woman, not talking about sports people or bodybuilders, but
Yeah.
the average women's legs are 75% as strong as men's. So, and they think it evolved from ancient times when the men were hunters, like Stone Age, the women would carry stuff,
Uh,
heavy goods, almost like they're doing like semi squats, walking around
yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So the women's lower bodies evolved to be stronger, and to this day they still have naturally stronger legs.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
And they're probably, and I don't know. I'm not sure of what's going through their minds. Why? I guess again, that's probably some sort of femininity signal that to work their butts like that. Also, as we talked about in the past, women tend to be very sensitive because the buttocks, upper thigh, and hips tend to accumulate fat.
Yeah,
Women because of certain hormonal patterns coupled with certain enzymatic changes in the way fat is stored. So
yeah,
women store fat in those areas. So women are very conscious of that area. I think that also enters into it. They
yeah.
don't, but the funny thing is, and we talked about this also, as hard as these women work their glutes, not even women, they'll walk. Most of them will walk around with the sweatshirt or sweater tied around. They
Hmm.
wear the leotards, but they wear like a sweatshirt tied around their hips
I hide
to
it.
hide their glutes. And there's nothing wrong with their glutes. That's how self-conscious they are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny how fashion changes. Like if you look at the girls in the 70s, they had real small butts. And
Yes,
now it's
yeah.
like they got to get the bigger, bigger, bigger butts.
Yeah. I remember in the 60s when I was training at Mid City Gym in 1964. This goes back down. I don't know if you ever heard of her. She was a world famous model at the time named Twiggy.
Sure. Yeah, Twiggy. Yeah.
And my friend Harold Poole, who was one of
Their
the top,
bodyguard. Yeah,
he was,
I remember
yeah,
that.
he was, yeah, Harold, and there was like four of the guy, Gus the Greek, I think his name was. There was about four of the guys, big, huge guys, that served as bodyguards for Twiggy. And I saw her once, and her name was appropriate because she literally was like a human stick.
Yeah,
She had no breasts, no ass, nothing. I mean,
yeah.
but she was very popular. I
Super
don't know.
popular at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she was like
Mid
like
60s.
one of the biggest models in the world.
Yeah,
But as she got older, the funny thing is she gained weight where she doesn't have that twig look anymore. I mean,
mm,
she's not fat. She never got fat, but she looks a lot different. She put on a lot more weight.
yeah.
So,
Did I tell you I'm competing?
oh, well, no, you didn't. I thought you were just training to get in shape for something.
Yeah, I was dieting just to get in shape for like video shoots, and then a
Yeah,
couple
that's
of
what
weeks
you do.
ago, I did a video with this guy Paul, who he owns that company that I work for, Pro Physique.
Uh-huh.
He goes, he helps competitors all the time. So he's like, you should do a show. He goes, there's one more show in December. You should do it. So I was like, nah. And then I was like, then I started thinking about, it, I'm like, why not? So I've been like ready for like the last month. And
Mhm.
so now he's helping me with the last couple of weeks, like trying to peak for the contest.
Which content? What's the name of it?
It's called the Holiday Classic. It's an NPC show. So
Oh,
I'm just going to do the Masters just for my age group.
oh,
Yeah.
wow. So,
First time in 8 years, though. I haven't competed in 8 years.
so right now, what percentage of contest condition would you say you're in at the moment?
I'm ready right now. Yeah.
You're ready right now.
Yeah.
And what? And, well, when is the contest? How soon?
Saturday. Couple more
Oh,
days.
okay. All right, good.
Yeah.
You're all set.
Yeah.
You're all set. Okay. Let me ask you, do you still use like carb loading techniques, that kind of stuff? Do you still do that?
Yeah. So I'm glad he's been helping me. This guy, Paul, he helps
Yeah.
competitors all the time. He mostly helps bikini girls, but he does help men sometimes. So
Uh-huh.
he goes, I'll help you if you want. I said, yeah, because I really didn't know what to do because I was kind of ready like 4 weeks ago. And I was just going up and then I go down and go up. I was just trying to maintain it. So he said, I do this thing called linear progression. So what
Mhm.
he does is he really depletes or depletes you like the weekend before the show. And he said, you have to be lean before you do this. You can't have body fat left to lose.
Good.
So you're already lean and then he really depletes you. And then starting on Monday, you start coming up on the carbs. And every day you're going up a little bit more and your body's filling up. He said it's like your muscles are like a balloon. And he goes, they're either going to be deflated or inflated. So he said he's just slowly inflating it. So
Right.
we did a trial run a week ago just to
Uh-huh.
see how my body would respond, which was a good idea.
This is a
And
good idea.
so he went down to 120 grams of carbs, which is
Mhm.
really low.
Yeah.
40 grams of fat. So low carbs and low fat and a lot of cardio twice a day
Wow.
for 2 days. And then we started on Monday with like 200 carbs, Tuesday 225, Wednesday 250, Thursday 275, and then Friday 300. And then he wanted to see what I looked like on Saturday. So then he adjusted it for this week and he went a little lower because he said I was filling out a little bit too much. So
Mhm.
this week we went to again 120, 140 for the weekend. and now he gave me 90 minutes of cardio. I've never
Wow.
done 90 minutes of cardio in my whole life.
Wow. A lot of cardio.
And so I was really, really flat on Monday. And Monday we only went up to 155. Today I went up to 195. Tomorrow is like 235. And then let's see, Thursday will be 275. And then he's going to look at me Friday and decide. He said we might go up, we'll probably go up to at least 300 on Friday, maybe more than that.
Right.
And he said I should really be good by Saturday.
Okay. All right. So, what about, is there any concern about a water spillover or anything like that?
No, he just said drink regular water, regular sodium, and
Yeah.
that's what he does. And he said it works to a T, like with everybody he works with. So
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah,
Some some people are, a little bit sensitive though because of the insulin effect that results
yeah.
from increasing your carbs. They get a little bit too much insulin reaction.
I remember the old way of doing it was they'd go like 3 days low and then 2 days
Yeah,
high. Right? That was the old
right,
carb
right,
depleting, carb loading.
right, right. So, what happens is when you get a little bit, let's say a little too much insulin, you get a little sodium retention.
Right, right.
And in really fine-tuned condition, that can throw you off. I've seen that happen millions of times, not millions, but a lot of times
Yeah,
where people, as you've seen this,
me
they'll
too.
look great like 4 days before the show. I know there was one guy years ago who had veins everywhere. I mean, this guy looked like a freaking freeway map. And this is on a Thursday, and I didn't see him till Saturday, the night of a show. I go to the contest, and I was on the fourth row. I could see him on stage, and at first I thought it was the lighting, but this guy had no vascularity at all.
Wow. Yeah,
He wasn't fat, wasn't anything like that, but just the hardness just disappeared.
yeah,
And I found out later he got a little bit too enthusiastic about the carbs. Like the last day before the show, he
yeah.
was like 1,000 grams of,
Oh
each
yeah, that's way too much.
much.
Yeah,
I don't know where he got his idea to do that, but screwed himself up.
yeah. That's why
But
we did that test run last week, and then he
yeah,
just adjusted. Kim brought it down a little bit, but he said, I told him, I said, I'm lighter now. My weight's going down. As I'm
yeah,
increasing the carbs, my weight's still going down. He said, that's good. That's good. Because he goes, then when we get to Friday, we can really give you a lot, like 300. And then he said, you should really be good on Saturday. And then he's taken into consideration that the prejudging is going to be at 9 a.m. So I
yeah,
really have to be ready by Saturday morning. I'm not going to have time during the day Saturday to load up because I'm going
right,
to have to be ready in the morning.
right. Now, when you are, do you still do the huge amount of cardio all the way up till, let's say, Friday, or do you
No,
split?
that's cutting back every day. So I did 90
Oh,
minutes over the weekend, and
yeah,
then it was 45 minutes Monday, 40 minutes today. I think 35 tomorrow, 30, and then it'll be 20. And then my last 2 days I'm not working out. So I'm working out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, hard workouts. Like I did legs today. I just went as heavy as I normally did.
yeah,
And then Thursday I won't work out at all. And Friday I'll just do like a circuit training just to get the blood moving and stuff.
yeah, yeah. That sounds like a pretty good system.
Yeah, and then he said Saturday morning, he said he goes walk on the treadmill or go outside and walk for like 10 minutes just to get your blood going and stuff.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that
I'm
sounds.
excited. I had no intentions of ever competing again. And then
Yeah,
once I decided to do this, it was only like 3 weeks ago.
yeah,
Now I'm like really excited about it. And I got a good routine and
yeah,
I might even do it again next year, because I've been doing these in-body scans at the gym. They have
yeah,
these, it's like a body fat percentage thing.
right.
I don't know how accurate it is. You stand on a scale and you hold these handles, but it tells you how much pounds of muscle and how much pounds of fat you have. So I've been doing it since July, and I've been decreasing my fat and in some cases increasing my muscle, which was
That's great.
I was really impressed with that my muscle was going up, even like 2 pounds or whatever,
Yeah,
as I'm losing the fat.
well,
So
that's
that was great. And so now I want to do that all the way through next year too. Every month, same time. I
yeah,
want to so I can control my fat. I'm not getting too fat, and then I'll try to put on muscle too.
right, right. Well, when I wrote about carb loading, what I suggested based on my experiences and that of many others, that carb loading is technique. When you mentioned how you did like a trial run,
Yeah,
I I really think that's a good idea because again, there's people vary in their sensitivity to carbs,
yeah,
the type of carbs and this and that. They should actually, let's say maybe 2 weeks, something like that, before the contest, do a trial run and experiment with how many carbs you could take without having like a water spillover or
Yeah.
something like that. So then the week, the peak week, the final week of the contest, you know exactly what's the right amount of carbs for you.
Yeah.
I think that really is important to do with carb
I
load
do
because
too.
I
Yeah.
mean it can
There's
go
so many
wrong.
things that can go wrong. Yeah.
So many things that can go wrong, and I've seen this over the years.
I did it in the 80s. I screwed up a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
Carl, you know.
I did once myself too. I did the same thing that guy did. I was going good, and then I just ate too many carbs the last day, and
Yeah.
I didn't get, like I say, I didn't. You can't get fat in one day, but I, I,
You
I,
hold the water.
I was holding water. It
Yeah.
really, yeah.
And
I
I
don't,
think the other thing that helped too was I was so lean already like a month ago, so I was already ready. I didn't have to lose any fat. It was
yeah,
just, I mean, I'm a little leaner now than I was then, but maybe only a couple pounds. So
yeah.
because I've been dieting since June. So
Wow.
it's been
Yeah,
like 6 months, over 6 months of dieting.
yeah,
So like I said, I didn't, and then I hit a couple points where I had sticking points. Like in the beginning when I started dieting, it was coming off really consistently, and
yeah,
then all of a sudden I hit a sticking point for 5 weeks. My nothing changed.
yeah,
I had to start carb cycling, and then that worked, and
yeah,
that worked, and then I got stuck again. And then I talked to Paul, and he said, "Well, if you want to really push it," he goes, "I would go 5 days at 150 grams of carbs because I was going down to 200." He
yeah,
said, "I would go 5 days to 150, do cardio twice a day, and then go 2 days high, go to 250 for 2 days."
yeah,
That worked. When I did that, that broke the cycle. And then I didn't have to do that extreme 5 days again. It was
yeah.
once I broke it, then I got down to, my waist got down to 33, which is normally where I want my waist to be. That's usually the leanest.
That's
Today,
great.
my waist was 32 and 3/4. So I'm actually
Wow,
below that now. Yeah.
that's great. That's terrific. And
Yeah.
what's your body weight? Do you know?
Yeah, it was 189 this morning. So I
Wow,
went down
you're really
below 190.
you're really lean. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I started
I
off with 216.
I always tell people if I got my contest body weight, I was natural, I didn't take any
Yeah.
drugs. My body contest body weight was 210. That's the weight where I could retain the most muscle without starting to lose muscle, and if
Yeah.
I tried to go, let's say 215 or 220, I started to smooth out. I
Yeah.
wasn't quite as cut. But I always tell people, even today, that I weigh like 220 now, right? And I tell people if I got below 200, you wouldn't even recognize me
Yeah.
because for some strange reason, and I should, according to medical research, at my height, I should only weigh about 190, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they remember those things don't take into account muscle.
Yeah. They're really
They,
outdated.
they don't take into any muscle, so it's a little unrealistic. But at 190, I look so skinny that you wouldn't even you say, who is this guy? He looks familiar. I mean, my
Yeah.
own mother, like I say, I came into New York once after a contest, and I think I did I weighed 188.
Wow.
Got off the plane, and I still had that tanning stuff on my for some reason. No, that was when I used trisorolins. I had a real tan. That's what it was.
Okay.
So here I am weighing 188 with this really dark tan, and I said, Mom, she had this blank
Didn't
look.
recognize you.
She didn't know who I said. It's me. I
Yeah.
had to explain to her that I just been on a diet, lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
She had never seen me that light. But
Yeah.
actually,
No.
but I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't want I can't compete anymore. But I really would like to get my weight down, only for health reasons. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, it's not like I'm obese, but I have certain problems that related to, let's say, pre-diabetes, that kind of stuff. All this stuff would disappear if I can get my weight down to, like, let's say 200.
Yeah.
That would actually probably put 9, 10 years on my life. So,
Well, it's
uh,
funny you said that, Jerry. I noticed I have a blood pressure monitor. My blood pressure's been really low.
really,
Slow. Yeah.
yeah, that's related to weight.
Yeah.
But I mean, see, I don't have any blood pressure or cholesterol or any of that problem. But I just think that from studying the research, I believe that as people, both men and women, as they get older, even if you're working out, you should always work out. Need this to say, you have to do resistance training and aerobics too, all the way to the end. You really
Yeah.
should if you want to,
Yeah.
be healthy. but I really believe people should try and reduce their weight
as they
as
get
they get
older.
older. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Unless, for example, let's say like a guy like you want to compete, you want to be a little heavier for a contest. That's different. But I mean, for normal everyday living, I think most people should make an effort to
yeah.
try and get really lean as they get old. It's going to really make a huge difference in preventing diseases and extending their longevity.
Frank,
Anybody,
Frank Zane always said that.
it's really true.
Reg Park too, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, Reg Park, I mean, and I mean it's tough to do because your body fights you.
yeah.
And your body has a tendency to put on weight as you
Not
get older,
fat as you get older. Yeah,
especially fat. And a lot of the reason is because people do tend to curtail the amount of physical activity they do.
yeah.
They don't work
Absolutely. They
out as
slow
much.
down. They slow down
Yeah,
as they get older.
or in some cases, let's say they have chronic injuries, shoulder, like I have shoulder and knee
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
They reduce their workouts, so they start coming in less frequent. That's what happens, but you have to kind of fight that a little bit to,
Hmm.
but it'll make a huge difference in health. Huge,
Yeah.
huge difference. Yeah.
Well, I feel great, so I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, you look pretty healthy. You look good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for an
How
old
old,
man.
John? You're what, about 50 something?
61.
Holy shit. No, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I forgot your for some reason I had 52 in my head.
Wow, that's good.
So, so I'm looking, I'm thinking John's 52. He looks pretty good for
Yeah,
50.
10 years younger. That's good.
Oh my God. No, no, you're doing great. You're doing great. You look
Yeah, thanks.
fantastic for that age.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And it's been
I
8 years since I competed. My last time
yeah,
I think I was 50, 53.
yeah,
Yeah, 53.
yeah. I mean, just look at other guys that you said 61.
Yeah.
Just look at the average guy 61 and you'll know I'm telling you the
Oh, I
truth.
know. I know. Sometimes I look at these movie stars, like I'll Google their age.
Yeah.
Wow, he's my age.
Yeah. No, I mean, they have this thing on TikTok or something. They have this age progression thing where they'll show the famous movie stars when they were young, and
Yeah.
then they show them today, and it's shocking, because these people, they do crazy things. They do a lot of drugs, or they don't.
Oh
It
yeah.
really catches up with them.
Or alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol and that stuff. My God, they're unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh
Well, it's
God.
really if you look at the old time movie stars, like William Holden or
Yeah.
like Mr. Miyagi in Karate Kid. I think he
Yeah.
was like 53. He looks like he's 80.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
know. I know. So yeah. Well, William Holden was a notorious
Yeah, he
alcoholic.
looked, he
I
great
mean,
actor, but man, did he age.
you know how he died? What happened
He
was he
fell,
was a
right? And he hit his
yeah,
head. Yeah.
he was a very, very heavy drinker.
Yeah.
And in his place, I think it might have been in Santa Monica. I don't know,
Mhm.
something. And he tripped and he slammed his head on a table or something,
Yeah.
and he just died right there.
He was dating that Stephanie, the one who was
Oh,
on Heart to Heart.
Powers, Stephanie.
Powers, yeah. He was
Yeah,
in a relationship with her when it happened.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, these guys degenerate. But you know, I guess
Well,
they.
everybody looks at health, I think, differently now. Like
Yeah, yeah, that's
people
true.
look younger now. Like look at Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's my age. He looks great.
Yeah, Brad looks pretty good, but he's always kind of stayed pretty lean.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen a fat Brad Pitt. I mean,
No, me neither. No, I've seen him real skinny, but I've never seen
very
him
skinny.
fat. Yeah.
But obviously, an ectomorph. He's a very skinny guy
Yeah.
naturally. I mean, but the good thing is that again, with age, even guys that are skinny tend to put on weight. But he has managed. I don't know whether this guy exercises or not, but
I don't either. I don't know if he works out or not.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know he has abs.
I saw
Most.
that Quentin Tarantino movie he did, and he took his shirt off. He was like on a roof fixing an antenna, and he took his shirt off, and he looked really good.
Yeah. No,
Like,
he
look,
looks.
they had some muscle on him for sure.
Yeah, has some muscle and he's low
Real
fat, low
lean.
body fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Fight Club. You remember he had the really good abs.
Ripped on that, yeah. And
Yeah, I mean,
Troy,
stayed.
remember Troy? He was
Yeah,
muscular.
yeah, yeah. I suspect that he does some sort of exercise, although I couldn't confirm that.
Yeah,
I mean, because I mean, he wouldn't look that muscular if he did nothing. He'd still have to have.
right.
He probably does minimal stuff, maybe light weights just to tone it. And
Yeah,
I mean, most of these guys know the importance of staying in shape for their careers. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, I think I told you the story when I was training at Vince's gym in 1969, and I mean, Universal Studios, like right across the street. They had
yeah.
like most of the movie stars and every TV star training there. I saw all these guys, and they'd always be training. Sometimes I talked to them, and they would tell me they weren't interested in bodybuilding or they were training solely because they had to take their shirts off in
In a
some
movie.
scenes.
Yeah.
So they had to train.
Yeah.
They considered it part of their jobs.
Yeah.
That's why they were there. You know.
I for my Patreon people that contribute to my website or to
Mhm.
the Bodybuilding Legends podcast, I send them audio articles. So I'll read an article from a
Oh,
magazine,
okay.
just audio, and I'll
Yeah,
send it to them. And I got to send you this one. I did one with Vince Gironda. It was from an old, well, it was an older muscle mag, but he was older at the time, so it must have been right before he died.
yeah.
He wasn't really young, and he was so funny. He was like so cranky to this guy,
Oh,
you
he
know.
was- that
And
was
the
Vince.
guy asked him, "Do you go to bodybuilding shows?" And he goes, "No, it's all drugs. It's all drugs.
Yeah,
You guys are all drugs." You know?
that was Vince. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Vince. Like I say, I think I've told you in the past that Vince Caranda, I got to know him very well. I kind of became friends with him. He was that classic, that cliche, you either hate him or you love him. That
Hmm.
was Vince. I mean, he could be very irascible, and most people who didn't really understand Vince, he
Yeah.
would, he would be very sarcastic and nasty. Like, the story about Arnold calling Arnold a fat fuck when he first met. This is all true.
Yeah.
Vince was like that, but like I say, I was warned about him because my training partner at the time, a guy named Pete Caputo, he told me that Vince is going to insult me the first time he sees me. He
Hmm.
says, "What you do? You got to roll with the punches. Just
Yeah.
laugh. Once you do that, you're okay. Vince will
Yeah.
like you."
Yeah.
And
Right.
the famous star walked in his gym and I had a sweatsuit on, and Vince came up to me. He says, "Hey kid, how'd you get here?" I said, "Well, Vince, I don't have a car, so I took the bus." And he went over to me, sniffed the sweatshirt. He goes, "I bet you didn't have any trouble getting a seat on the bus." And I laughed. I really did think it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got along great after that. We always got along after. Never had a
Rick
problem.
Wayne said he got along great with him. He loved him.
Oh, but God, when I trained, he would insult everybody.
Well,
Oh,
Rick said he was an alcoholic. He said he used to drink
he
all the time.
was. Yeah, he was. Unfortunately, yeah. I never saw him drunk, but he was like one of those guys that he kind of drank himself to death. To tell you the truth,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was very sad with Vince's last days because the big gyms were coming into play, and he had that little place,
Yeah.
and they kind of edged him out, and he put his whole life into that gym.
Oh
Opened in
yeah.
1947. That gym was open.
Yeah. That's what he said in the article. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, when the gym closed, it kind of broke his heart, and he just really hit the bottle then and killed himself with the drinking. That's
Yeah.
what happened to Vince Carone. It's very sad. Vince
I could
did
tell
die.
you that story of the guy I knew from Chicago. He was older than me. He was friends with Bob Guida,
Oh,
and
Bob.
he worked for the city. He was a big guy. His name was Al, and he was a big. He worked for the sanitation department or something. Like
Yeah.
the guy you don't mess with, you know. But he loved bodybuilding. He used to train with Sergio. He was good
Okay.
friends with Sergio. So him and his wife took a trip out west one year, and his wife knows what it's like. You know, he's a big guy. He doesn't take shit from nobody.
Yeah.
He goes, "Honey, we got to go to Vince's gym."
Ooh. Uh-oh.
So they go into Vince's gym, and he's got his camera around his neck. He's got the thing around his neck, and he walks in. And it's so dark he couldn't hardly see anything.
Yeah. Look, that's the way Vince's was. Yeah.
Yeah. So he starts taking pictures of the equipment. Well, Vince
Yeah.
is on the other side of the gym training somebody, and he's got that leotard, you know, the
Yeah.
leopard skin leotard, the one piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he sees him, and he runs to the front, and he's bounding over the equipment, you know. And he goes up to him, and this guy's big, and he goes, and Vince gets right in his face, and he goes, "You take another fucking picture in this gym, and I'll kick your ass out on the street." And he's like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Geronda. I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry." And his wife's looking at him like, "What the hell? You don't take shit from nobody." And this guy's threatening you. And
Yeah.
he goes, "Honey, it's Vince Geronda." He goes, "I can't say nothing to him."
Yeah. That is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vince was fearless. I mean, he would say that he didn't hold back on anybody.
Yeah.
I think I told this story when he was training that guy who was on that show Highway Patrol. Or what was it called? Oh, I can't remember. He later on he did commercials. I can't remember this actor's name. He was training him, and they had a back door that you could open, and then they had the front door which was always open. And the front door had a whole bunch of slots where Vince would put his little flyers on
Yeah.
diet, and supplements. And he was training this guy, and there was only two other guys in the gym. I was there, and one of the guys said, "Hey, Vince, you mind if I shut the back door? It's kind of drafty in here." And so Vince suddenly snaps at him. He says something about I wish I could remember the actor's name. He says he likes to have a little air in here. If you don't like it, get the fuck out now. I'll never forget that. The guy just didn't know what to say. He just
Right, right,
walked away. Nobody ever tried to argue with Vince.
right, right.
Joe Gold was kind of like that in some ways. In other words,
Yeah, yeah.
Joe Gold, he had, his thing was that,
George
if you,
Turner was like that too.
yeah, if you dropped the weights or didn't put the weights
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
he'd throw you out. He'd give you membership back.
Well,
But
Phil
he did.
Williams and Tony Pearson said they trained at George Turner's gym, and they said he would get in fights all the time with members. And I'm
Yeah,
like, he would actually fist fight his member. He goes, yeah, he'd take them outside, and they get in a
yeah,
fist fight. And he knew all the cops, so when the cops came, he never
yeah,
got in trouble.
yeah. Phil Williams told me about him. Yeah,
Yeah,
he had a really violent temper for an I
yeah,
never George Stern, but he had a really violent temper. He like a he'd go psycho on people.
yeah, yeah,
So he's a guy I'm glad I didn't meet.
yeah, yeah. Me
I don't
too.
think I would have had any problem with him though.
Yeah.
But I mean, still,
He
I
said
sort of like,
Vince didn't like Robert Blake, the guy who played Beretta.
oh, nobody did.
Nobody
No,
liked that guy. Yeah,
yeah, because like I say, when I trained there, you had every top act, all the TV act, all the guys I saw on TV, they're right in front of me, all these guys.
yeah,
And I never bothered them. I was only, what, 18 years old, but I wasn't going to go over and say, let me have your order. I never did any of that stuff.
yeah,
I wouldn't even talk to them unless they spoke to me. But Robert Blake always had a chip on his shoulder,
yeah. He was always an
had a,
asshole.
always had a scowl on his face. Nasty, nasty guy.
Rick said once they were in the locker room and it was like him and Vince. O.J. Simpson was there. He had,
OJ,
you know, and then Robert Blake comes out of the shower with a towel, and Vince looks at him. He goes, "Robert, how come you got to be such an asshole? Why can't you be a nice guy like these guys?"
yeah. No, he always had a real chip on his shoulder. Speaking of OJ Simpson, I saw him trying. When he was married at the time to the woman he wound up killing. This
Yeah,
was
Nicole Simpson.
before that happened, and he used to go around the gym with that guy who drove him in the Jeep, AJ or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and
AJ Collins.
yeah, he was a nice guy, by the way, Collins.
Yeah,
But OJ was a prick too. I mean, he had an attitude.
yeah,
He'd be very friendly to the women in the gym and try and pick up a lot. Try to pick up a girl right in front of me on a leg curl
yeah,
machine.
yeah,
And he was married, and I knew he was married. And I didn't say anything. But anyway, he was like he had an attitude too. He was not to me a likable guy.
yeah,
OJ Simpson was not, very nice to women, nasty to just chip on his shoulder to guys. Real kind of like Blake in a way.
yeah.
He,
He
I
got
know
away
he,
with a lot of shit because he had that charming attitude. He had that charisma.
yeah, well, yeah, well, no, in public he came off as a great
Yeah,
guy. If you didn't know
yeah,
better, you think he was a really nice guy, but not from what I saw. No,
yeah.
and I hate to say it, but Carl Weathers was another guy like that.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, Carl
Yeah.
would. I mean, he wouldn't talk to you in the gym. You say hello to him, he'd walk right by. And
Wow.
he lived right up the street from me. He had a house here, and sometimes I'd walk my dog, and he'd be out in front of his house washing his. He always had these fancy cars, like big
Mhm.
Mercedes, and all that. He'd be washing his own car, and and I knew him from. I knew that he wouldn't say hello in the gym, so I would walk by, not acknowledge. He'd say, "How you doing?" And I'd say, "How are you? Nice day." Huh? He said, "Yeah." Then this happened all the time, but I see him in the gym the next day. Again, no hello.
Wow. That's weird.
Strange character.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like he'll say it, he figures I must be a neighbor because I'm walking my dog, so he'll be friendly to me there, but in the gym, get away from me.
Right.
You know.
All right. Well, we better get started. There will be all
Yeah.
night. So I thought we could talk about 1964 first, and then maybe get
Oh
into
yeah.
1974.
64. Great. Yeah, that
Let
was
me
a
fix my light here first.
okay. I just saw your arms and they look pretty vascular, John. I can see
I
low fat, okay, low body fat.
think as you get older, your skin gets thinner. Is that
It
true?
does. It
Yeah.
does. It does.
Because
And
I'm more vascular this year than I think I've ever been in my life.
I can confirm that. You know what's really weird? When I compete in bodybuilding, I went on the zero carb diets. I got my body fat down. I never had vascularity in my legs. Nothing. Not
Yeah.
a single vein. Today I have veins all over my legs.
Yeah.
I'm not even dieting like I used to. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just weird. But I know what's going on. What happens is, as you get older, your skin does get thinner,
Yeah.
even if you do nothing. And I never really carried much fat in my thighs, so the combination of fairly low fat in my thigh area and the thinner skin caused my veins to come out. That's it. And of course,
Yeah.
the training helps too. But it's funny that I didn't have a single vein in my legs when I
Yeah,
completely.
my legs are covered in veins, and I even got veins across my chest. I
Yeah,
sent a couple pictures of myself to my friend, one of my old friends from Chicago. These guys know me since I was 18, and he's like, "I've never seen you that
yeah,
vascular."
yeah, yeah. That's low body fat too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. All right, let me introduce.
Okay.